it's hard to look good and get better at the same time. So I had to be willing to be humbled in messing up, being criticized, and recognizing, do I want to quit? Do I want to give up? Do I want to just let this be what it is? Or do I have a bigger vision for myself to impact the world with my words? And I believe that words matter. And I'm here to create a collective consciousness, a collective well-being, especially for people of color, where I'm representing that our stories matter, our voices matter. I want to be an example. I want this could be my legacy that I leave my kids one day. They're going to hopefully be able to hear all these episodes, hear how dad thought and what he was going through and all these different situations when I made him mad, and also when I made him happy, when I made him proud of me. Right. And I think that's the best gift I can give, is just leaving these little bite-sized audio diaries for them.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of I Made a Podcast. I hope that you're having a great day. Now, the voice that you just heard before I started talking was that of Alex Dumas. He is a professional speaker, an author, and he's a podcaster. He has 2 podcasts. One is a daily podcast that he's been doing for over 1,500 episodes. That's 1,500 days straight that he hasn't even missed one day. This was such a wonderful conversation that I had with him. So let's get into this conversation. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you so that you can learn from what he is doing. And it can encourage you if you are trying to get into that daily podcast routine. This was a wonderful conversation. Let's get into it right now, and make sure you have your notepad open to take down some notes from some of the things that Alex mentioned in this episode. Alex, how you doing today?
Chris, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for inviting me to the show. I'm looking forward to this conversation, brother.
Wonderful. Excellent. So let's get straight into this right now. So I'm going to ask, for the people who are just hearing about you for the first time, can you introduce the podcast that you host? Let them know a little bit about you, about your business, maybe about some of the things that you're working on. Just kind of crack open the book on who Alex is and just read us the introduction or chapter number 1 so that we can get a better picture of who we're talking to today.
Here, my name is Alex Dumas. I'm a professional speaker. I am an international best-selling author. The book you see behind me, A Journey of Riches, The Power of Self-Discovery, I contributed to chapter 2 in 2024. I'm also a global movement leader as vice president of the BIPOC Coach Collective. And from the stage, I work with leaders of color and other organizations to help their people speak up and stand out. And that is a means to build unshakable confidence, to amplify our voice and impact. And the podcast that we're going to talk about today, part 2, I have my daily 3-minute podcast called Love, Serve, Care, which has been in existence now since November 2020. So this is my baby. It's getting into preschool now, right? Or getting into kindergarten. And my other love is Elevate and Celebrate, which is a podcast that I host monthly for the BIPOC Coach Collective. And that's our show to highlight and showcase other coaches of color, entrepreneurs, get to learn their journeys, their narratives, and hopefully inspire up and coming ones and even seasoned entrepreneurs.
Oh, awesome. So you got your hands full. That's yeah. You got all these things going on. And then you have a family as well, right? So one of the things that I always love to ask podcasters is how they are able to do it. Like, how are they able to manage all of the other responsibilities, whether they have a 9-to-5 job, a business, or other initiatives that they're working on, and then have a podcast as well, and then have family life? How are you able to manage all of these things and still have a daily podcast and then a monthly podcast as well? How are you able to do it?
Yeah. Well, let me take you back with me to 2018, Chris, because that's when my first foray into podcasting began. So my wife and I, we co-hosted a show together. We ran that for about 2 years. It was a weekly show. It started off as bi-weekly, where me and her would share some insights. Right? It was called the Business and Marriage Podcast. And then I would interview somebody. Right. So one episode would go on like a Monday. The next episode would go on a Thursday, the same week. Right. So, and we were doing that for a while. Then I started to get tired. I started to get a little bit burned out from that. And then episodes started to decrease. The rate of frequency when we shared it stopped. And we just both kind of collectively said, you know what, let's just wrap up the show. It's over. But I still had the itch, right? That podcast. And like, I got to do something with myself. Yeah. And I thought, how can I make this simple? How can I make this easy? And then that's when the idea of Love, Serve, Care came to me. And that was inspired from this book from John Gordon called The Carpenter. So if anybody who ever reads that book, you'll understand the business principles and that love, serve, care. I loved it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to use that. So John Gordon and your team, don't sue me, please. Don't like come after my show. I acknowledge y'all. I love y'all. I love the principle of the book, but I thought to myself, what could I do that can make this really easy and simple for myself? And I love making music. I produce instrumental beats just for myself. And I had this one that was 3 minutes and 21 seconds long. I'm like, you know what? Would be cool if I could just speak over that, right? And it's almost like a backdrop for it. And I started in November 2020. And to this day, as we are talking right now, it hasn't stopped. I'm close to 1,600 episodes, and I feel like I'm still just getting started because it's been honestly a place for me to draw from inspiration, right? It's everything in the world, my life, my experiences, conversations, people that I'm around inspire me, and I've find a way to transfer that into a microphone. And it's simple for me, about 10 minutes, right? Between the recording, typing some show notes, making sure it's scheduled right, and then I'm done. I'm complete. So to answer your question, how do I manage that? I made that podcast simple for myself because I know that if it had to be 20 minutes, 30 minutes every single day, I would probably lose my mind. Going back to 2018, it would take me 2 hours to edit a 20-minute episode because I'm trying to cut out all the all the background noises, all the little dings and dangs that my kids are doing. I'm like, no. I was like, you know what? 3 minutes. I can do that. I can focus my mind for 3 minutes, boom, done, and move on. And with the monthly show, that's a little bit more time and labor intensive, but it's also something that I'm very connected to because, as I mentioned, this is a showcase for coaches of color. This may be the first time that somebody ever sees or hears this individual. So I want to put them on the pedestal of bringing their best self. I want to have them have marketing materials, have them have something, right? A 20, 30, 40-minute piece that tells their story and shares how brilliant they are and the good they do in the world. And that's something that I lose motivation for. It inspires me every time I get to hear these episodes. I get to rewatch them and go through show notes and do timestamps. And I'm like, man, I've really got it good. I'm a lucky guy that I get to talk with these individuals. I get to be a fly on the wall and draw from them. So that's hopefully I answered that question.
Yeah, wonderful. And I have the notes here. So as of today, right, we're in the middle of February. It's 1560. You have 1,560 episodes. So have you missed a day since?
No, I've come close. There's been a few times, right, a handful of times where either I didn't schedule the podcast right, or I just forgot to record altogether. So scramble downstairs, get to my office, do it real quick, and then I release it. But for the most part, unless I'm going on a trip or away where I batch episodes, for the most part, it's every day. And obviously, it's for the next day. So the insights that are coming to me today, I share them out. Or if there's other things I want to continue as a series, right, I might do like a part 1 episode, part 2. I'll do that. But for the most part, it's every day.
Wow, that's awesome. So yeah, so I listened to a few of them actually, quite a few. If you go and check your analytics, you probably would see a big spike. It was me.
Yeah, I actually did. I did a podcast. I just talked about this the other day. I'm like, man, it was you.
It was me. Yeah. So when it comes to, so what I'm hearing from you is that you do the recording process like every day, unless you are going away for a week or whatever.
Yes.
You would batch up some content. So every day you have like a routine that, during this time of the day, I would go down to your office, put on, and it's a 3-minute episode, so it's fairly quick, right? So you just go on there, you gather your thoughts, and boom, you're good to go, right? How does that content creation process work for you? Because like I'm sure you must have, like, I don't know if where you get your ideas from. Do you have any notes or do you journal? Like, how are you getting your ideas to create a daily podcast?
Yeah, it's a mix of that. Sometimes I would say for the most part, it has been just through life experiences, to conversations, to different things. I had this one episode that I recorded where I caught this insight when I was driving. I was on my way home after dropping off my son. So this is kind of like the routine of it, where I drop off my son to school in the morning by 7:30, and then I'm heading back home before I go to the gym. So I have like a little window of time to record. So that's when I typically record, between like 8 and 8:15, right? Something in that window. So this one time I'm driving and I had to make a right turn into my neighborhood, and there's a main road going this way, and I have my blinker on a pretty good distance and driving, and this person, they're looking to make a left turn. There's no cars coming on the other way. And I'm like, what's wrong with them? Like, don't they see my blinker? Like, don't they trust me? And then I thought to myself, like, Alex, you do the same thing. Someone can have a blinker on and you're going to wait till they get right to the corner to turn. And I thought to myself, well, that's really interesting that I don't trust them. They don't trust me. And sometimes it's random moments like that where an insight comes and I process it. I'm thinking about it. And then for the most time, it's really kind of just almost freestyle. Like, all right, this is what it is. This is what I saw. This is what I thought. Share it. And I'm done.
Good to go. Yeah. Wow. So, like, what was your, either in terms of your favorite episode that you've ever done where you've recorded it from either one of your podcasts that you recorded it and it was like, wow, this was an awesome episode, or one that is like one of your top downloaded episodes that you've done so far? Do you know, or can you share?
Man, that's just a really good question.
It might be a hard question because you got about 1,500 episodes, right?
Yeah, like, it's like, don't tell the other children that they're going to be mad. Like, how was your favorite episode, right? One episode that comes to mind, it was the longest episode up to date because it was an unusual one. It was after a speaking event that I did last year in Arizona, and I hosted a Zoom call with several of the people who attended, and I just did a huge acknowledgement for everybody who attended. Like, literally, I had the guest list, I had everybody's names.
Oh, wow.
And I was just sharing different quick little stories of, hey, this is when I met this person, I hugged you here, and it was about an hour long. So that episode is the longest one you'll ever find in my show. I forget what, it's probably in the 1300s, maybe 1400, something in that range. And so that's one that comes to mind. Elevate and Celebrate. The episode hasn't come out yet, but I recorded recently with this young woman, and we had a great conversation. We didn't know each other, right? Similar to us, right? We're jumping on this call. We didn't really have any interaction or any pre-call beforehand. It was just like, all right, we're going to jump into it. We're going to record the episode. And I walked away from the episode, from that recording, patting myself on the back. And of course, I did a podcast about it because the insights, right?
Exactly.
I thought about it. I was like, man, I'm really good at this. And not to say like, oh, other podcasters are bad and I'm superior to, but knowing myself and knowing that, wow, I'm really good, that I can connect with the stranger, have this hour-long conversation with her, draw out so many stories from her and her path, and be able to celebrate her and highlight, like, man, that's really a skill. And I think that's something that isn't appreciated enough from people, right? Of just being able to communicate and hold a great conversation with somebody and do what I set out to do. I want to be able to showcase, I want to be able to highlight and make sure that this person's a star. And all I have to do is just like set them up, right? It's like basketball. All I got to do is be John Stockton, set them up, let them take it and run with it.
Wonderful. Yeah. And that's what I love about podcasting as well. If you connect with someone who's really good, you could feed off of their energy, and you could you know how to just give them nice, passes, just throw them a nice alley-oops, and they'll just, put it right into the basket. I love that, man. I love it. When you connect with someone, through podcasting, and they're good at what they do, and you can feel that, man, it's just the best feeling. It's totally awesome. Now, I have two questions. I don't know which one I should hit you with first. Let me go here. So you have a book that you contributed to. It's a bestseller, and you also do speaking engagements. And then we've been talking a lot about both of your podcasts. How does this all work together with your podcast? Like, do you promote one or the other, or vice versa? So does your speaking engagement clients come from your podcast, or do you promote your book on your podcast, or your speaking engagement? How does that whole ecosystem of your business work with regards to your podcast?
Yeah. That's a good question. The book, I had an opportunity to contribute to this book, A Journey of the Riches, The Power of Self-Discovery, last year in 2024. It's essentially my life story up to this point in about 5,000 words, right? Just under 5,000 words. And that was a challenge in itself, of thinking about all of these different paths I've taken and all these experiences I've had, and trying to find the billboard moments, like, hey, what are the real impactful chapters of my life, and putting it together in this one. And I share that because as I was writing that, I was crafting that, it also awakened the possibility of looking at my keynote and how I want to connect with the audience, right? It's different writing for someone to read versus writing for me to speak it out. But I found some parallels. I found some things for stories, and I think that's where it helped me shorten up my story, get closer to the point, and find a way to connect with, and also putting just a lot of emotion into it, right? My story, there's some vivid stuff. There's some vivid descriptions of things that I was processing and looking at, and then it tied into speaking, as far as not only just sharing my story, but now finding a way to captivate an audience so that their story becomes my story, that they can see themselves in my moments of feeling inadequate and insecure, or being distracted and maybe destructive, and then empowering people, inspiring people, right? This whole roller coaster of life.
Mm-hmm.
And with the podcasts, I've been able to, speaking opportunities haven't come from the podcast necessarily, but it's always content that I have. There's always a way for me to share something with an event planner, take transcripts from what I say, create short blog. You know, I hang out on LinkedIn a lot, but Facebook as well, the social media ecosystem, right? And just share that and give myself another opportunity to share thought leadership and to inspire people. So I think they all work together because one is coming from me. I'm the source, I'm the voice, I'm the mind of it. And the podcast is, just my thoughts. It's become an audio diary at this point, right? 1,560 episodes at the time of recording this. It's, I can tell you this, not every day do I want to record. There are days that I have some really difficult moments because I'm a human. That's part of the deal.
Yep.
And also recognizing I got to show up. I committed to this. So let me follow through on my word. And then with my speaking, with the book, it's all tied to, well, this is what happens when you do get committed. This is what happens when you do actually set a powerful intention for yourself. So I can inspire people from the stage. I can inspire people through these pages. And at the end of the day, I get to live my life, right? Be with my family. They come with me to some speaking engagements. So they get to see me in action sometimes. They're like cringe and like, oh my goodness, why would you say that? But this is me. This is what I do.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Man. Okay. So look, I'm going to just take a pause right here and let everybody out there know that I'm going to include all of Alex's links for his book, his podcast, both of them, his website. So if you want to connect with him, social media and all those things, I'm going to put all those things in the description. So I would encourage you all to go and connect with Alex and subscribe to his podcast. Again, it's a 3-minute daily podcast, and you can get that little jolt of encouragement or something to help you think about something a little bit differently. Because like I said, I've listened to quite a few of your episodes now since I found out about your podcast. And yeah, it has started the process of me thinking about things more deeper based on some of your topics. Now, from what you just mentioned a moment ago, you mentioned that daily podcast that you might transcribe it and turn it into the internet kind of chopped up a little bit. So I just want to make sure that I heard it properly. Because so the daily podcast that you might transcribe it and turn it into another book or like a blog post, I think you said? Yeah,
both, all the above, right? And just these different insights, and then using that as like a daily blog, which, as I think about it, like, wow, 1,560, like, do I want to go back? No, I don't need to do that. I can just do it moving forward, or maybe like make it like a week in review kind of type of deal. But I know there's another way that I can leverage what I'm already doing, because I think that's the thing that most entrepreneurs kind of get tripped up on. It's like, I got to create something new. I got to create, like, you don't really have to, because there's so much that we left behind, so many breadcrumbs.
Yeah,
and like
absolutely.
I have 1,500 and change. So why don't I just use what I already have?
Yeah. So I think that's a really good idea as well for other podcasters out there. If you have a large backlog of episodes, and if you're thinking about starting or writing a book, if you have a large backlog, you can turn that into blog posts. You can turn it into a book, right? It just takes a little bit of effort to do that. But your content is right there. You can repurpose it in the form of a book. And that's actually something that I'm working on for my other podcast. So I've been podcasting since 2019. I have a weekly podcast. It's called the Faith Fight Podcast. But I'm taking specific episodes that I have done and released over the past, 6 years now? Yeah, it's a long time, and I'm turning certain episodes into chapters into a book because I want to use those things to reach to a different demographic. Some people, they really enjoy print and reading more so than listening to audio. So I realized that can be an opportunity for me to, again, get my message out there and help someone else with what I've learned. Now, there a lot of what I'm hearing, so like with regards to your speaking engagements and your podcast, and then I'm listening to you right now. You speak very well. Now, did you take any speaking like courses or anything like that to help you get to the level to where you are? Because you do very well on your podcast. And I know, like you mentioned before at the beginning of the episodes, that when you were editing, if it would take a long time, it's because you were cutting out the ahs and the ums and the whatnots and filler words. But you don't use a lot of them now, right? I've been listening. You don't use a lot of them now. So did you take any training, like professional training, speaking courses or anything like that to get to the level where you are right now? Ready to launch your podcast the right way? If you ever dreamed about starting your own podcast but don't know where to begin, this is your moment. I've been podcasting for years and helping others to do the same. Now I'm bringing everything that I've learned into a brand new live 6-week podcasting class. Each week I'll walk you through the exact steps to go from idea to launch. Even if you're on a tight budget or a short time frame, you'll get no fluff, no overwhelm, just a clear roadmap to building a podcast that actually lasts. This is a live, hands-on group class, which means that you'll be able to ask me questions, get feedback, and build your show with real support from me. And you will be transformed into a podcaster by the time we finish. And because I want to keep it intimate and impactful, the spots are very limited. So if you're serious about starting your podcast and want to do it right, join the waitlist through the link in the description, and you'll be one of the first to know when the course opens. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. So let's turn that podcast dream into a reality. So did you take any training, like professional training speaking courses or anything like that to get to the level where you are right now?
Yes. For now, the past 3 years, since June 2022, I've been a member of Toastmasters locally in the Raleigh area. That's helped me become very conscious aware of those words, those filler words, the and so, and like, all those kind of things.
Yep.
And they pop up. It's what happens. But I'm definitely more conscious of that as far as the speaking training as well. I've been fortunate enough to be coached and mentored by a lot of amazing speakers. I'm part of the NSA Carolinas chapter. That has helped me tremendously skyrocket my approach and my way of thinking as far as the business side of speaking and also the practice, right? That's important. There's two things you need that are valuable to master, just being a great presenter, an orator, command the stage, and also the back end of making sure the machine itself as a speaker continues to run, whether that's getting bookings or offshoot opportunities and referrals and testimonials and videos and things like that. But yeah, a lot of that has also come from just the podcast itself. I'm speaking every day, at least for 3 minutes.
Right.
And there's not a lot of time for me like, it's kind of like boom, boom, go get to it, get to that point that I want to get to and deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess what you're saying is you were purposeful in seeking out training and being part of groups and associations like Toastmasters to get better at it, but also you just continued to do it, whether speaking engagements or your podcast, and then you have grown as a result of it. I guess that's absolutely how you summarize it, right?
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, it's hard to look good and get better at the same time. So I had to be willing to be humbled in messing up, being criticized and recognizing, do I want to quit? Do I want to give up? Do I want to just let this be what it is? Or do I have a bigger vision for myself to impact the world with my words? And I believe that words matter. And I'm here to create a collective consciousness, a collective well-being, especially for people of color, where I'm representing that our stories matter, our voices matter.
Mm-hmm.
So let me be the person. I'm not the savior. I'm not get everybody get on my back. I'm just saying, for me, I want to be an example. I want this to be my legacy that I leave my kids one day. They're going to hopefully be able to hear all these episodes, hear how Dad thought and what he was going through and all these different situations when I made him mad, and also when I made him happy, when I made him proud of me, right? And I think that's the best gift I can give, is just leaving these little bite-sized audio diaries for them.
Wonderful. I love it. So let me ask now. So you've been podcasting for a while. What has been the biggest challenge for you? Either something that you have overcome, or something that you see as a challenge right now?
As far as recording the podcast, like producing the show and all that?
Anything related to podcasting. I'll leave it open. The biggest challenge to you?
I would say the consistency. We touched on it earlier, where there's real situations, real time in life that I don't want to do this. December 2022, my father experienced 2 strokes in New York.
Wow.
I don't really talk about this that much because I don't want to turn it like, oh my goodness, poor Alex. Like, it's just, that's part of life. So, I'm blessed to still have him in the world, in that I'm thinking about him. I'm trying to coordinate with siblings and figure out, all right, what are we going to do with him? He's in a hospital. I'm here in North Carolina. It's not exactly the easiest thing to just skip and head to New York.
Right.
And that was a distraction. That was definitely a challenge. And also recognizing that I've made this commitment. I've made this is now a part of me. It's not even something that I do. The daily podcast, like, this is a part of me. Mm-hmm. So let me use it as a way to heal, to process things, to encourage myself, because I need it just as much as anybody listening does. For sure. Yeah. So I think that's one of the most recent major challenges, along with just the different emotional things that happen. Right. My mother, it would be 10 years that she's passed. And every time it's around her birthday or the anniversary of her passing, that's an emotional time. I don't want to record. I literally am like, I don't want to do this. Right. I'll sit at the desk like how I am right now. It's like, I don't want to do this. And I tap into, all right, what are some lessons that maybe she taught me, or what are some things I want to share with somebody else who may be thinking, I don't want to go through this, or I'm grieving, I'm having this situation, and I find a way to refuel and express it and deliver. Wonderful. That's good. The one thing that I would compliment you on is that you kept going. You felt the need to, even though that's life, right? Life happens to everybody. But you felt the need that it was important for you to continue to do your podcast. And a lot of people are benefiting because of what you're putting out there. And I would encourage everybody else out there. I mean, life, sometimes can happen, or will happen one time or another. It's going to happen. Something's going to happen in life. Something may come up. The pipes may burst in the house, or the roof may need to be replaced, or something might happen, right? Whether it be someone close to you, or one of your friends, or whatever. Life happens. It's one thing maybe you might need to take a break, right? But if you feel that this is something that you're called to continue to do, that you find the encouragement to just pick up that baton and continue the race to finish to the finish line, to continue to go with your podcast. And that's what you're saying, is that you were able to find the strength during those times to continue to release your podcast and put it out there consistently for 1,500 episodes, over 1,500 episodes every day, which is, I mean, kudos to you, because there's a lot of people who may have gone through things like that, and they say, you know what, I'm going to stop now because the emotion of it is too heavy or too hard. So kudos to you for keeping up with it. Just about to wrap up. I usually ask this question to everybody out there that I speak to. Is there anything that I may have forgotten to ask you about podcasting that you want to share? Oh, that's a good question. Oof. Now, you've been very thorough, and I love that. Did I grill you? Did I grill you? No, I'm not sweating right. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. No, but I wanted to share knowledge, and I appreciate your preparation. Right? It shows a lot, and it means a lot, because with these shows that we do, sometimes you think to yourself, like, is anybody listening? Is anybody watching? Like, is anything happening? Is it making a difference? And I think that may be tied into another piece of like the challenge of it's a little bit of our own ego. Like, man, is anybody listening? Like the download numbers, I'm not hitting Joe Rogan numbers. Like, is this even worth it? But every now and then, right, you get a little sprinkle of, this was helpful. Thank you. Like, oh my God, someone's watching. Yay. And it just rejuvenates you. And then as far as like a question, yeah, I really can't think of one. I think you've really covered all the bases. So thank you, Chris.
Yeah, no worries. One thing I will say, one of the previous episodes that you released, I think it was a couple of days ago, you talked about if one person, listens to your pod, or you got one download in that day, that's something. I had the same mindset about that as well, right? With my other podcast, it's a faith-based podcast. So I'm not doing it to, put myself out there, or I'm not doing it for financial gain or anything. I'm doing it just to share what I have learned and hoping that I help somebody. And I have the same mindset that you have, where if I see on the downloads one day with one download, that means to me that I was able to impact at least one person's life. And only God knows, who that one person is and where they are in the world. But at least one person's life may have been made better because of something that I was able to put out there in the form of a podcast, that a podcast was able to do that. So the comments that you made on that episode that you recently released, it's in lockstep with the way that I feel about downloads and analytics and all those things as well. So thank you very much for continuing to do your work with your podcast. One key takeaway for everybody. What would it be?
I would say lock in with your commitment. You have a commitment to make this podcast. Be committed to have this time together to record. If one of us is unwavering, if one of us is kind of like, you know what, I kind of take it or leave it. Now my word doesn't mean as much.
Mm-hmm.
And with my show, it's not because I have to do it. I wanted to, I choose to do it. If someone out there is watching thinking, well, I'd love to do a podcast, but I don't know, that's fine. You can have those doubts. But I would encourage you to think about what are the things you're committed to doing? What are the things that I can do this? I look at it like I'm a parent, right? I have 2 children. I'm committed to making sure that they eat every day. That's not something I have to think about anymore. When they were babies, I had to make sure, okay, they got to get this much milk and you got to get this much, we got to change a diaper, we got to do the things. But nothing's going to make me think now, do I feel like having my kids eat today? Like, how do I feel about, like, there's not an emotional thing about it. It's like, this is what I do. They make sure they eat. I make sure they brush their teeth. These are the things that are like non-negotiable to take care of themselves. Wow, I'm committed to this. And I always know that I can rely on myself to get the job done. Even if nobody else believes in me, even if nobody else sees what I see, I know that I commit to something, that I started and I finish it. And that would be my word of encouragement for y'all. Just get committed and stay committed.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Alex. So your podcasts, they're called Love, Serve, Care. And then the other one is called Elevate and Celebrate. Yes. I got it right?
Yes, right. Correct.
Right. So listen, I'm going to make it easy for everyone. I'm going to put all of the links for your socials and your podcast and your website and everything for you in the description below. So if anyone wants to listen to more of you and get your daily podcast or the monthly podcast, they can go down in the description and listen to that. All right. So Alex, listen, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to help everyone get a little bit more insight on how you make a podcast. So thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you, Chris.